Namaskar everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Let us begin our Gita study, chapter 10, with opening prayer from the Shiva Mahimna Stotram. You must be familiar with this one. This is on page 172 of this book, the Universal Prayers, top of page 172. Om Asita samam syat kajjalam sindhu patre surataru arashakha lekhani patramurvi लिखति यदि गृहीत्वा शारदा सर्वकालं तदपि तव गुणानां ईशपारं न याति। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Using the biggest branch of the celestial tree as the writing instrument, the ocean as the ink pot, and the blue mountain as the ink, and using the whole earth as the writing surface, if the goddess of learning, Sharada, were to write your glories till eternity, even then, O Lord, your glories cannot be fully described. Infinite indeed are thy glories. Om peace, may there be peace and joy in our hearts. Adhyatmika Shanti, may there be peace and harmony amongst all the beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti, may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. Last time we were studying verse number 31 in chapter 10. In this chapter, which is called Vibhuti Yoga, Bhagavan Sri Krishna describes the glories, the infinite ways in which his glory is manifest in everything in this world. He has illustrated this with a number of examples. Indeed, these glories are infinite, cannot be described in its entirety because they are infinite. As the opening prayer from the Shiva Mahimna Stotram said, God's glories are infinite. We can fathom His glories in its entirety or even a small part of it. But to know that and to recognize His presence in all and everything around us, including ourselves, the Bhagavan has given a number of examples in this chapter. In the 7th chapter also He gave some examples. In verses 8, 9, 10 and 11, in chapter 7, He began this topic of His glories in everything, how we can see God's presence in everything. And this chapter 10 is a fuller description of that. So let us do verse number 32. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivahamarjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatamaham. Sarga here means creation, the process of creation and creation itself. The process and the product, both creation. That is Sarga. And that creation process has, like other things in nature, a beginning, a middle and an end. Adi, Madhya, Anta. Everything in this universe has a beginning, a middle That means it stays for some time and then end. The only entity that does not have beginning, middle or end is the Lord Himself, Bhagavan Himself. In Vedanta, we call it Brahman, Adi Madhyantarahitam. Adi Madhya Antarahitam, Brahman, God is. He has no beginning, He has no middle, He has no end, infinite. Accepting the Lord, accepting the ultimate reality called Brahman in the Upanishads, everything else in creation has a beginning, middle and an end. So that is what he is saying in the first part of this, verse number 32. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaiva aham Arjuna. He is that beginning, middle and end. Whenever we see something coming into existence, that is God's glory right there. Without His glory, nothing can, not even an atom can come into existence. Adi. And everything exists for some time. Some things exist for a very short time. Some particles exist for a second or a shorter time. And some things exist for a long time, thousands of years. Or some things in nature exist for even a longer period of time, like the sun and the star, they exist for billions of years. And then they go out of existence. The end comes, Anta. That's all His glory. Everything has to be seen as His glory in the creation. Sarganam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham Arjuna. This idea had come before. Bhagavan had expressed the same thing in the earlier part of this chapter, verse number 20. If you go to chapter 10, verse number 20, you will see the same thing mentioned there. He says, verse number 20 is a very important verse in 10th chapter, a key verse. There Bhagavan says, Ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhutashayasthitaha ahamadischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. See, same idea has come. Gudakesha Arjuna, sarvabhutanam, sarvabhutashayasthitaha. I am resident, I am present in all the beings. How is it present in all the beings? As itself, Aham Atma, Gudakesha. The very center of anything in this universe is the presence of God in it. You take anything, what is the most important part around which everything exists? That is His presence. That is what he says. Ahamatma gudakesha sarvabhutashayasthitaha. I am the self resident in all the beings in nature. In second line, verse number 20, aham adischa madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha. Same thing he has said before. Sarvabhutanam, of all the beings, animate, inanimate, big or small, moving, unmoving, of all the beings, aham adihi, I am the beginning, madhyam, I am the middle. That means He sustains the entities from beginning to end. The sustaining power is the Lord Himself. Madhyam cha bhutanam anta eva cha, I am the end also. This idea has come in the Upanishads. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, I have referred to this line, this passage earlier also. There is a very famous sentence. There the teacher explains the nature of the ultimate reality, Brahman, to the student in this way. He says, that from which everything has come, that by which everything is sustained, and that unto which everything goes back and merges into, at the end of their cycle, that is Brahman. Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisammishanti tad brahma tad vijijñāsasva. That from which everything comes into existence, that by which everything is sustained, upheld, supported during its existence, and that unto which everything goes back and merges into at the end of its existence, that is Brahman. In Vedanta we call it Brahman, in devotional terms we call it God, Bhagavan or God, whatever, same thing. Ahamadischa madhyam cha bhutana manta evacha. 20th verse in chapter 10. Now the same thing comes here in 32nd verse. Sarganamadirantascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna. Adiyanta madhyam, the Lord himself. Then the next line, second line, verse 32. Adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatamaham. Vidyanam, among all the branches of knowledge. Vidya means knowledge, all kinds of knowledge generally. Of all the different innumerable branches of knowledge, I am Adhyatma Vidya, the knowledge of the self. Adhyatma means the divine presence within us, the self, Atman. Now earlier we have seen that the whole universe of knowledge can be divided into two broad categories. What are they called? Paravidya and Aparavidya. That we know from the Upanishads. Dve vidye veditavye parachaiva aparacha. Both branches of knowledge have to be known, veditavye. We should know both of these. If you only know one side of knowledge, one branch of knowledge, then our education is not complete, our knowledge is not complete. We have to know both. What are the two branches of knowledge that we have to know? Paracha eva aparacha. Paravidya, aparavidya. What is aparavidya? Aparavidya is all branches of knowledge dealing with the world. You name any branch of knowledge that we are familiar with, that we study in schools, universities and other institutions of education, they are all aparavidya. Chemistry, medical sciences, psychology, physics, biology, sociology, archaeology, everything from anatomy, astronomy to botany and zoology. All those branches of knowledge, they are collectively called Apara Vidya. The word Apara means not superior, not in a derogatory sense. Para means superior, supreme Vidya. As opposed to these branches of knowledge which are called Apara Vidya, what is Para Vidya? Knowledge of the self. It is defined in this way in the Upanishad. Para yaya tadaksharam adhigamyate. Para Vidya is that by which that imperishable Brahman is known. That means knowledge of the self, Brahma Jnana. Para Vidya means Brahma Jnana, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of the ultimate reality, knowledge of our true nature. We are all that. Upanishad says each one of us is that same. There is only one thing in this world, in this universe, and that is Brahman. We are seeing many different things, they are all the same thing, appearing in multiplicity, but only one thing in reality. Brahman is the only thing that is in existence. Though it is perceived as innumerable things, people, animals, plants, nature, stars and galaxies, everything, atoms and trees and plants, animals, they are all same thing. Knowledge of these things in creation, that is Apara Vidya, knowledge of the self, Atman or Brahman is Paravidya. So here he says in the second line of verse 32, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam, among all the branches of knowledge, I am knowledge of the self. I am Brahmajnana. If we know all the or much of the Aparavidya, and if we don't study Paravidya, then our education is woefully incomplete. A person may be an expert in several branches of science or social science or humanities, literature, everything. That person, if he or she does not study Paravidya, then his or her education is incomplete. Both have to be known. Dve vidye veditavye parachaiva aparacha. Among all the vidyas, I am Paravidya. Vidyanam Adhyatma Vidya. What is the speciality of Adhyatma Vidya? Why it is glorified so much as opposed to the Aparavidya, which are also interesting and important? The reason why Paravidya is held supreme, it is called Paravidya means supreme knowledge. Para means supreme. Why it is called supreme knowledge? Because of several reasons. The Aparavidya branches are of temporary value and they change. Our knowledge of the world keeps on changing as new scientific discoveries happen. Our understanding of the world changes, constantly changing. It's not constant. That Vidya is not constant. The object of that Vidya is also not constant. The world is also changing along with our understanding of the world is also changing. It's not constant. So we can never say I know Aparavidya completely. You can never say that one because it is changing. Also it is so vast. And it is second point is Aparavidya is finite. That means it is only with us for a finite period of time. It takes a long time to master even one branch of Aparavidya. Whole lifetime it takes. And then what happens? It will not be with us forever. It will go away, fade away. As we become old, our memory fades. Everything that we have studied in schools and colleges, gradually we forget them. In the meantime, they are helpful for our livelihood, our life. They are helpful. They have to be acquired. Aparavidya has to be studied. You can't neglect it. There are a few great saints who did not have any Aparavidya at all. But they were jnanis. They had Paravidya. So they could get away with that one. But we cannot be like that. Those are very few in number. In recent times, Swami Adbhutananda was like that. He did not have any Aparavidya at all. He was illiterate all his life. Sri Ramakrishna tried to teach him Bengali alphabet, but after trying for 3-4 days, he gave it up as hopeless. He could not learn even the first 3 or 4 letters of the alphabet. So he said, it's not for you. But he became a jnani, devotee. He knew God. Paravidya he knew. So that is more important. The other difference is, once we get Paravidya, it's permanent. It will never go away. Aparavidya is temporary. It will go away, it will fade away. And Paravidya, once we get it, it's permanent and will never go back into ignorance again. If you know Paravidya once, that is permanent. You can never go back into the domain of ignorance after knowing God once. Whereas Aparavidya does not have that. We can forget it. It will be lost. Knowledge itself will change and our understanding of that knowledge also will fade away. That does not happen for a Paravidya. Once we get it, there is no end. There is no more returning to the domain of ignorance. It is permanent. And the third different point is, once we get Paravidya, there is nothing more to be known. Yajnatva anyad jnatavyam na avashishyate. By knowing Paravidya, there nothing remains to be known, everything is known. The Paravidya is so complete that one Upanishad begins with this question. The Upanishad begins with the question, the students ask the teacher, Sir, please teach us that knowledge by knowing which everything will be known. That's Paravidya. Aparavidya is not like that. If you study physics, then you will not be able to know history and archaeology. If you study sociology, then you will not be knowing quantum mechanics. Limited. Only one part of it you can master in one lifetime. But Paravidya is not like that. If you know Paravidya once, you will have key to whole universe of knowledge. Kasmin bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. O Lord, Bhagavad, teacher, in earlier days, the students used to address teacher as Bhagavan, with great respect. Nowadays, the situation is different. In some schools and colleges, the students may address the teacher by first name. That is not, that is today's culture. We are not going to comment on that one. But in the earlier days, students used to address the teacher with great respect. Bhagavaha, O Lord, Bhagava, kasmin vijñāte, by knowing which, sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati, the whole thing will be known, whole secret of knowledge, key to the whole secret of knowledge, key to the whole storehouse of knowledge is Paravidya. If you know that, everything else is under your control, you will know everything else. That is the Paravidya, superiority. That's why it is called Paravidya, superior knowledge. Para means superior, supreme knowledge. So among all the branches of knowledge, I am Paravidya. That alone has to be studied. Plus some Aparavidya for our present life. We need that too. So in the Mundaka Upanishad, the sage says, give up all preoccupation with unnecessary things. Most of the things people do in their lifetime is useless or marginally useful. Dispensable activities. Concentrate on knowing the self. So the statement in the Mundaka Upanishad is, Tameva ekam janatha atmanam anya vacho vimunchatha. Ekam atmanam eva, that Atman alone. Janatha, you study, you know, you have to know the Atman. Paravidya you have to acquire. Teacher is saying. Anya vachaha, all other talk about worldly matters and what other people are doing, what's happening in this and that, those are all useless and waste of time and energy. Anya vachaha vimunchata, give them up. Shankaracharya calls it lokana vartanam in the Viveka Chudamani. Unnecessary, wasteful preoccupation with what other people are doing, what's happening everywhere. Celebrity gossip and politics and sports and entertainment, all these things, food and everything. Discussion, endless discussion, waste of time. There are whole TV channels dedicated to food and sports and entertainment. That's all they do. All the time. They talk about sport, they talk about food, they talk about entertainment, everything. All that is sheer waste of time and energy. Our time is limited in this life. We can't afford to waste our time in pursuing that kind of knowledge. Anya vacha vimunchata, give up all other talks. Focus on knowing the self. Atmanam ekam vijanatha, know the Atman. Why it is so important, Atman? The reason is Amritasya esha setuhu, Upanishad says. Esha means this Atman is, the knowledge of this Atman is Amritasya setuhu. Setu means bridge. It's the bridge to immortality. As it is, as body remains, we are mortal very much. Very short duration of time we have as body and mind. But as Atman, we are immortal, infinite, eternal, Amrita. And this knowledge of the self, Paravidya, is the bridge from mortal existence to immortality. Amritasya esha setuhu. That's why it's so highly extolled in Vedantic literature, Paravidya. So here Bhagavan says in verse 32, Vidyanam Atma Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. Among all the branches of knowledge, I am Adhyatma Vidya, Paravidya, knowledge of the self. Then last part of 32, Vada Pravadatamaham. Among all the types of arguments, discussions, I am Vadaha. Pravadata means people who do discussions. Now there are different types of Vada discussions. Three kinds of Vada are described in the scriptures. Vadaha, Jalpa, Vitandaha. The three different ways in which people discuss, three different types of discussions people do. The best type of discussion is that the purpose of which is to establish the truth, to know the truth. That is called Vada. When the teacher and students discuss some subject, the purpose is to know the truth, establish the truth. That's the noble purpose. That is the only useful type of discussion. All other discussions are not worthwhile. The discussion that is intended to establish the truth is called Vada. Vada Pravadatamaham. Among all the different kinds of discussions, I am Vada. Vada means that type of discussion which is intended to establish the truth, to know the truth. Other kinds of discussion also people do. Second kind of discussion is Jalpa. Jalpa means useless, purposeless discussion. I say something, you say something. You say something, I say something. A lot of time energy is wasted in useless discussion. That useless discussion which does not achieve anything. The only thing it does is waste of time and energy on both sides. That is called Jalpa. Jalpa means just useless discussion. Chattering away about all unnecessary things. Jalpa. The third kind of discussion is Vitanda. Vitanda means there is a purpose there. In Jalpa there is no purpose. In Vitanda the purpose is to put down the opponent. Whatever you say, I am going to oppose it. If you say A, I will say a complement of A, opposite of A. If you say B, I say opposite of B. This doesn't end. The only purpose there is to put down the other person's viewpoint and say something opposing what the other person says. This is Vitandavada. It is of no use, total waste of time, energy. More heat is generated and no light is generated. No knowledge comes. Only argument and people get into heated arguments and discussion and useless. Among all these three types of discussions, I am Vada. Vada means that type of conversation, discussion, which is intended to establish the truth, to know the truth. Purpose is to know the truth. That is useful, fruitful. That should be done. Vada Pravadatamaham. Now we go to verse number 33. Aksharanamakarosmi dvandvasamasika cha ahamevakshayah kalo dhataham vishvato mukha. Aksharanam akaraha asmi. Asmi means I am. I am the letter A among all the letters of the alphabet. Is the beginning letter. Everything begins with A. In all languages, alphabet, first letter is usually A. In English, like that one. First letter, first sound that comes from the root of the throat, A. Deep inside the throat, the A sound originates. Other sounds in the more and more forward portions of the mouth. And the M sound, nasal sound, comes when both lips are closed and the air goes through the mouth. the outermost area where sound is produced, nasal sounds, M, N, etc. M is nasal sound, M. Aksharanam akaro asmi. I am, among all the letters, I am the letter, first letter A. Then second is, in verse 33, Dvandvasamasika cha. Samasa means a compound word. In Sanskrit, it's a very big, grammar is a very big topic, samasa. There are dozens of different kinds of samasas are there. And subdivisions are there. It's a very highly developed branch of knowledge. In the Sanskrit grammar itself, samasa is a very distinct, different topic. Among all the samasas, I am dvandva samasa. One type of samasa is called dvandva. The word dvandva has come before several times in the Gita, in the 2nd chapter, verse 45. Nirdvandvo nisyasatvasto niryogakshema atmavan. Dvandva comes. Dvandva means duality. One plus something. Dvandva. Among all the samasas, I am dvandva samasa. Dvandva samasa means where two or more things are combined. That is, that kind of combination of words, two or more words, into one compound word is called dvandva samasa. Example of is, there are two people, Rama and Krishna, John and Jack. Use the word Rama Krishna because you can combine into samasa. John and Jack you cannot combine into samasa. In English, this is a different system. Ramaha, Krishnaha. So, both are referred to together. In that case, the samasa becomes Rama Krishna. Au ending is Dvivachana. In Sanskrit, there are 3 numbers. In English, there are only 2 numbers, singular, plural, one or more than one. But in Sanskrit, there are 3 numbers, 1, 2, and more than 2. Ekvachana, Dvivachana, Bahuvachana. So when there are more than one, then it's called Dvandva samasa. Ramaha, Krishnascha, Rama Krishna. I am Dvandva samasa among all the other samasas. Dvandva samasikasya cha ahamevakshayah kalaha. I alone am the time, the imperishable. The only thing that is imperishable within creation is time. Everything else changes and perishes. Time and space, kala. In the 11th chapter, next chapter, which we are going to study, the Lord reveals his cosmic rupa, Vishwarupa, to Arjuna. Then Arjuna becomes frightened to see the cosmic form. Then Sri Krishna had to give him special eyes with which to see the cosmic form. We'll study that after we finish 10th chapter. There Bhagavan says in the 11th chapter, verse 32, Kalosmi lokakshayakrit. I am time, the devourer of everything. Whole universe is devoured in time. In time, everything goes away. I am that time. Kala. Kalosmi. Kalosmi. I am a Vakshayah Kala. I am the imperishable, unending time. Then, last one. Dhataham Vishwatomukha. Vishwatomukha means facing in all the directions. Our face is only one-sided. I can only see this way or I can see only this way. I can only look at in one direction at a time. But God can look in all the directions at all times. Vishwata means in every direction He can look, He is present. Infinite number of spaces. Vishwatomukha, facing in all directions. Dhata. Dhata means I am the, there are 2 meanings. Dhata means one who supports all beings. Because of God's power, everything exists and functions. Dhata also means, in the commentary Shankara says, Dhata aham karma phalasya vidhata sarva jagatah. Karma phalasya vidhata, that means he who is the dispenser of the fruits of our action. When beings, especially human beings, do some action, good or bad or any other kind of action, a fruit will come, necessarily result will come. For every action there is a reaction. Here also, if I do something, the result will come sooner or later. Result of my action will come. And the Lord is He, it is the Lord who gives the result of my actions. That does not mean that he will individually will examine everybody's life and give the result one by one. Not that way. He has made the law of nature. Law of nature means all actions generate some reaction. That is ordained by him. So dhata means one who dispenses the fruits of our actions. Karma phalasya vidhata sarva jagatah vishwatomukah. He can see in every direction. That means omniscient. Then we go to verse number 34. Mrityus sarvaharaschaham uddhavascha bhavishyatam kirtishrirvakchanarinam smritirmedha dhriti kshama. The second line is very important. You all have to bear it in mind. We'll come to that. First line, verse number 34. Sarvaharaha mrityuhu aham. I am death carrying all away. Everything has an end, as we have seen before. And when they end, where do they go? They go back to the Lord from where they came. Yes, mrityu means one into which everything goes back and merges at the end of their existence. And the death. Death is not a very good word because it carries a very bad connotation, but it's inevitable. Everything has to die. It is the truth. There is no escaping that one. But who is the death? Who is the destination into which we all go when we die? The Lord Himself. Mrityuscha aham sarvaharaha, the one who carries everything back into Him. I am death carrying all away. He takes away everything. He creates everything. He sustains everything, supports everything, then He takes away everything back. That's His divine sport, Leela. Daivi Leela, we can say. Why does He create the universe? Some people, when they are in difficulty, they say, why this world was created? So full of problem. When they are in difficulty, they say that one. That is His Leela. Devotees say that is His Leela. God likes to create, bring the creation into existence, sport in it, plays all the roles of all the people here. He is Himself playing all the roles of every one of us. And then He withdraws the play and closes the play, draws the curtain. Why does He do that one? Why does He not simply keep quiet? Why the world should be there? Such questions arise. That is, devotees say it is Leela, divine sport. In the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna says, somebody asked him this question, why does the Divine Mother make us go through all these difficulties in our life? Why does she not give liberation to everybody? Sri Ramakrishna said that is her Leela, that is her sport. She likes to continue the game. He compares the world to a game of hide and seek. In the game of hide and seek, there is one leader, the Divine Mother is the leader, and the players are all the other people. They are all blindfolded, and they are running around trying to touch her. One person who touches her while being blindfolded, she will be released from the game. His blindfold will be removed and he is out of the game, freed. The question was, why does she not release everybody? Give liberation to everybody. Why she makes us go through all this trouble in this life, sickness and poverty and other kinds of numerous problems? Then the answer Sri Ramakrishna gave was, it is her wish to continue the game of creation. If she gives liberation to everybody, there is no creation. more people will be left there. But she wants the world to continue. That's her game. So she keeps us in ignorance. But she herself is playing the role of all the players. That's another way to understand that one. So, Sarvaharaha, I am the one who takes back everything. I am death. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham uddhavascha bhavishyatam. Bhavishya means future. Those things which are going to come into existence, which are not in existence now, of all those things which are going to come into existence, I am the origin, Udbhava. Everything that has come into present now, we all have come from him. He is the origin of those things present now. Those many things came and went away before us. He was the origin of those things too. And those things which are yet to come, people, animals, plants and galaxies and everything, they have not come into existence. Of those things also he is the origin. Bhavishyatam Udbhavaha. I am the origin of those things which are yet to come into existence. Kirti Srirvakcha Narinam Smritirmeda Dhritikshama. Of women, Nari means women. Of women, I am the fame, glory, speech, memory, intelligence, endurance and patience. See what the Lord himself is saying. All good qualities such as memory, endurance, patience, intelligence, they are all in women. More probably than in men. But in society it is not recognized. Women are paid less for the same amount of work, same kind of work. They are not treated with respect, women. But this is what they learn. The truth is, God's presence is more clearly visible in women. They are stronger. Stronger in the sense they have the ability to bear more suffering than men. Men easily give up, yield. Women have more forbearance. The strength is there, inner strength is there. They take so much trouble and then remain strong. It's there, Kirti. Kirti means fame. The virtue of fame is more in women. Kirti, Shri. Second quality is, Shri means glory or wealth. Wealth need not be money. Wealth can be wealth of knowledge, wealth of other virtues. They are all wealth of different kinds. Ordinarily, when we use the word wealth, we mean only money. No. Women have all kinds of wealth, all kinds of virtues in them. Kirti, Shri, Vak, speech. The ability to express clearly is more in women. That ability we don't recognize. Kirti, Shri, Vak, Chanarina, Smritihi means memory. They have much stronger memory than other people. Women have. See, so all virtues of women, God's presence more in women, can be seen more clearly in women. If you only open your eyes and see. Kirti Srivakchanarina Smritihi Medha. Medha means intelligence. Women have more intelligence. They can tackle problems in a more intelligent way. But it's not recognized. Kirti Srivakchanarina Smritihi Medha Dhritihi. Dhriti means endurance. Under difficult circumstances, women can bear. They can bear more difficulties. They have more endurance. They don't easily give up or bend, yield. They can take more problems and bear more problems. Dhritihi. Kshama. Kshama means patience. More patience. Some people get easily upset, but women don't get easily upset. The more patience. These are all virtues that can be seen in women, and that is the divine presence is more clearly visible in women. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna said, God's presence is more clearly visible in human beings than in animals and plants and other things, inanimate objects. But among human beings, God's presence is more clearly visible in women because all these special virtues that women have. It's very interesting, important verse. कीर्तिश्चैर्वाक्च नारीणां स्मृतिर्मेधा धृतिः क्षमा. Then verse number 35. बृहत्साम तथा साम्नां गायत्री छन्दसामहं मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहं ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः. बृहत्साम तथा साम्नां. In the Samaveda, each verse is called a Saman. Saman. Among all the verses in the Samaveda, there is one verse called Brihat Sama. That is the most outstanding verse in the Samaveda. I don't know that verse because I have not studied Samaveda. But among all the verses in the Samaveda, one particular verse called mantra called Brihat Sama, that is outstanding. In that you can see clearly the glory of the Vedas. Brihat Sama tatha samnam Gayatri chandasamaham. Among the Vedic meters, I am the Gayatri. See, in Sanskrit poetry, every verse has is in a certain meter. Meter means chandas. That means each line of every verse, each quarter of every verse has to have the same number of syllables in the same configuration. It can't be changed even by one syllable. That's how poetry is created in Sanskrit. That meter is called chandas. Among all the meters among the Vedic verses, Gayatri is the most important. Gayatri chandaha, we say when we chant any mantra, we have to mention the chandas also. Gayatri meter is the most important meter among the Vedic verses. Gayatri chandasamaham masanam margashirshoham. Among all the months of the year, 12 months of a year, I am Margashirsha. Why it is? Let me see if there is anything in the commentary. Masanam Margashirshaham. There is nothing among the I am the Margashirsha, and among the months I am the Margashirsha. And there is no explanation why it is. Maybe it's a spring season, most pleasant season of the year. Masanam Margashirshoham Rutonam Kusumakaraha. Rutu means the season. In Indian Hindu system there are 6 seasons. In Western system there are 4 seasons. The 4 seasons we are familiar with are summer, fall, winter, spring. Among all the 4 seasons that we are familiar with, spring is the most pleasant season. The winter ends and all the trees and plants they bloom, and all the animals and birds which had gone away in winter they will come back, and that is the most pleasant season in the year. Kusumakara means Vasanta Ritu, that means the spring season. Among all the seasons I am spring. Kusumakara means, Kusuma means flower. In spring season all the plants bloom and they produce flowers. Beautiful. Kusumakara means that season during which flowers come. After winter there is no flower or leaf or anything in plants. In spring they all come, leaves come back and flowers bloom. There you can see clearly the glory of God in spring season. 36. Dyutam chalayatam tejas tejasvinamaham jayosmi vyavasayosmi sattvam sattvavatamaham. Dyuta means when they play the game of dice, that game of dice is called Dyuta. The famous Dyuta happened in the Mahabharata story. Kauravas and Pandavas entered into a game of dice, and the stakes were very high. Pandavas lost all their kingdom and everything, including Draupadi also, because that was rigged. That game was rigged by Shakuni. Shakuni produces the numbers that always favor the Kauravas. That was the understanding. Pandavas did not know that one. And why did they agree to play the game? Because among the Kshatriyas in those days there was a convention. If somebody challenges you to a game, you cannot say no, you have to agree as a Kshatriya. If somebody says, let us play this game, and the Kshatriya has to agree to it, otherwise he will be thought of as an impotent person, a weak person. So Pandavas had to agree, Kshatriya convention. But they did not know that Shakuni had rigged the game in favor of Duryodhana. So that is the game of Dyutam, the game of dice. I am Dyutam, I am of the tricksters, I am the game of dice. Why this is given there? We have a question. How can God be the game of dice, the Dyuta? Is something that is considered bad, is it not? How can he be there? How can that be a part of his glory? The answer is, at the human level, our level, good and bad, all the differentiations exist. At the divine level, they all merge, only power remains. Example is given. On the earth, there are good things and bad things. Good things happen, bad things happen. All things good and bad happen on the earth only because of sun's power. Sun is the cause of everything. If sun is not there, nothing happens anywhere. Everything that happens in the lives of human beings, in nature, animals and plants, good and bad, everything happens. Sometimes there is this hurricane also comes. Sometimes a flood comes, sometimes too much, sometimes there is no rain at all. All these good and bad things happen on the earth as enabled by the sun. But we can't hold the sun responsible for all the bad things that happen on the earth. He does not himself do anything, good or bad. He simply exists in the sky. His nature is to simply shine in the sky. He does not come down to earth and do anything, good or bad. But only because of him, all the good and bad things happen on this earth. So if we can see God's presence even in the evil, then we can see His presence in everything. In everything. Good and bad at our level, but there is no good bad in the divine level. All His power only. Because of His power only, everything happens. Dyutam chalayatam asmi tejas tejasvinamaham. Tejas means splendor or vigor. Some people, you can see their personality is so powerful, so attractive. They exude power, knowledge, and everything they exude. And where do they get that power? From the divine Lord Himself. Of all the Tejasvis, people who are very powerful people, great people, virtuous people, their greatness, virtue, everything comes from the Lord. Tejas tejasvinamaham. In the 7th chapter, you can remember a similar statement there. 7th chapter, verse number 11. There Bhagavan had said, Balam balavatam asmi kamaraga vivarjitam. People are strong, some people are strong, some are weak. Balavan means a strong person. Of all those people who are very strong, physical strength, mental strength, and moral strength, 3 kinds of strength. Bahubala, physical strength. Yoga bala, spiritual strength. Manobala, mental strength. Of all these 3 kinds of strength, some people have more of these things. Where do they get it from? From the divine presence in them. God is the source of all kinds of strength. Balam balavatam asmi kamaraga vivarjitam. Free from attachment and lust. That was in 7th chapter. Jayosmi Vyavasayosmi Sattvam Sattvatamaham. Jaya means success, victory. Wherever there is success, that is due to God's presence, manifestation of God's power in anything that is successful. Jayosmi Vyavasayosmi. Vyavasaya means actually planned effort. Vyavasayinam, it doesn't have any explanation. Of men of resolution, I am the resolve. Sattvam Sattvatam. Vyavasaya means actually well planned and executed effort to achieve something. Vyavasaya also means effort. Vyavasaya also has another meaning, agriculture. That means people have to work hard to produce some worthwhile result or output. That ability to work hard and produce something worthwhile is the power of God present in those people. Some people have more of this Vyavasaya. They can achieve more, put in more effort. Some people are not so much. Very little effort they can put in, and then very little output also will come. So His divine presence, God's presence in people, that is expressed in as Vyavasaya, well executed, well planned effort, producing something worthwhile. Vyavasayosmi Sattvam Sattvatamaham. Sattva here means Sattva Guna. You are familiar with three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. People have all the three gunas in different proportions. A person is defined by the dominant guna present in such a person. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, all are present in everyone, in everything in nature, not only people, everything in nature. And then whatever guna of the three is more dominant, we classify that person according to that guna. If a person has more sattva, we call him a sattvic person. That means he will have some rajas and tamas too. They are not much. Predominantly sattvic person. If a person is rajasic person, he has more rajas and very little sattva and very little tamas. So among the sattvic people, I am sattva. Sattvam Sattvatamaham. Among all sattvic people, all virtues, patience and forbearance and wisdom, compassion, all these are sattvic gunas. In such people have all these sattvic qualities, I am that sattva. His presence there can be seen. Yes. One more sloka can be done. 37. I wanted to finish chapter 10 today. Vrishninam Vasudevosmi Pandavanam Dhananjayah Muninamapyaham Vyasah Kavinamushana Kavihi. Vrishni is a dynasty in which Krishna was born. Among all the Vrishnis, I am Vasudeva. The Lord Vasudeva means Krishna himself. He is the most prominent. In him all the virtues can be, abilities and virtues can be seen. Lord himself, he is among all the Vrishnis, he is Vasudeva. Pandavanam Dhananjayah. Of all the 5 Pandavas, Arjuna is the best. In him you can see fully the glory, because among all the 5 Pandavas, Arjuna was the best in the sense, when the war was going to happen, Bhima, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva, they had no question in their minds. They are all ready to fight, gung-ho, to fight with the Kauravas. But it was Arjuna only that had a question. We are going to fight and we are intending to kill all the Kauravas, who are our relatives and cousins, Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna also on their side, and Drona, Bhishma also on their side, our elders and teachers. Are we doing the right thing? That question arose only to Arjuna. If he had not asked the question, there would be no Bhagavad Gita. And he would not be in the class today. It was because of Arjuna that Bhagavan got the opportunity to give this divine knowledge. We are very grateful, we should be grateful to Arjuna for asking that question in the first chapter of the Gita. How can we kill all these people? Are we not committing a big mistake? Like this whole chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga, first chapter. Other four Pandavas didn't have that question. They had one purpose, and that is to engage in war and get back their part of the kingdom. So Arjuna is the best. Because of him only that we have this Bhagavad Gita. Pandavanam Dhananjayaha Muninam apyaham vyasah. Muni means a person remains silent, maunam. Maunam means silence. Muni also means a sage who contemplates in silence and acquires knowledge. Among all the big sages, great sages, numerous sages are there. In our Sanatana Dharma tradition, numerous sages are there, great sages are there. Among all of them, I am Vyasa. It is because of Vyasa that we have all the scriptures, all the Puranas and Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, everything is because of Vyasa. He dictated this Mahabharata to Ganapati, Ganesha, non-stop. And that's why we have the scriptures. Vyasa is the greatest among all the sages. Some people say that there were many Vyasas because he has created so many scriptures. How can one person do so many? And he also present in different ages. Whatever that be, Vyasa is the greatest among all the sages. Muninam api aham Vyasah Kavina Mushana Kavihi. The word Kavi has two meanings. Common meaning of Kavi is a poet who writes poetry. But another meaning of Kavi is one who knows everything. Kavi means one who knows complete knowledge. Among all the people that have total vision, complete knowledge, Kavinam aham Ushana Kavihi. Ushana is the name of a sage. Is also called Shukra. Among all the gods, Shukra is the one who is the wisest among all the gods. People go to him to seek advice, wisest person. Kavena Mushana Kavihi. We will stop here. We still have 38, 39 and 5 more verses, 42 verses. We will complete them next time, next week, God willing, and we will begin chapter number 11. Chapter 11 is a very, very interesting chapter. It's called Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, where the Lord reveals his cosmic form. That seals everything, clinches all questions. The Lord himself is showing his true cosmic form, then no more question remains. Who is Krishna? No question remains. We know he is the Lord, Bhagavan himself. He reveals his form, especially to Arjuna. Special gift. So we'll study that in the next chapter, next time, God willing. Now we shall say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavanta Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy, may all be free from diseases and other problems. May there be harmony and no ill will among all the beings. May there be harmony and peace in nature. May no one be subject to misery. Om peace, may there be peace in our hearts, Adhyatmaka Shanti. May there be peace and harmony among all the beings, Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature, Adi Daivika Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. All of you stay well. and God willing we shall meet next week. Thank you very much.